And I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3+, namely Guyana, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, and my own country, Algeria. The A3+ thanks Mr. Pedersen and Mr. Rajasingham for their briefings. Madam President, we are meeting today amid a perfect storm that threatens to further destabilize the Middle East, a region already plagued by instability. Recent developments will only serve to exacerbate the situation. The A3+ warns against further escalation and call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint, avoiding actions that might intensify the crisis in Syria. Furthermore, the continued violation of Syrian sovereignty threatens to undo the fragile stability in the country and risk plunging Syria back into a dark period of violence. Madam President, the A3+ is also deeply concerned about the resurgence of violence in certain areas of Syria and reiterate its call for a nationwide ceasefire. The precarious security situation in Syria, compounded by the political stalemate and economic strife, has left the Syrian people in a state of profound despair. The A3+ emphasizes the urgent need for all parties in Syria to refocus on a credible political process and to engage constructively with the Special Envoy and support of his effort. In this regard, we recall that Resolution 2254 remains the cornerstone of any political solution in Syria. We reaffirm our steadfast commitment to Syria's sovereignty, unity, territorial integrity, and political independence. The A3+ further urge all Syrians to overcome their differences and recommit to Syrian-owned, Syrian-led political process to resolve the crisis that has afflicted their country for over 13 years. We also underscore the need for full and meaningful participation of all Syrians, particularly women and youth, in shaping the future of their country. Mr. President, the Syrian people are silently enduring one of the most severe humanitarian crises in our time. The figures are staggering. 13 million people are food insecure, with 3 million of them in a very severely food insecurity. And the number of malnourished having tripled in the past 3 years. 7.5 million children in need, with 2.5 million internally displaced, 1 million of them living in camp, and 2.4 million are out of school. Over 70% of the Syrian population is in need. And yet, the humanitarian response plan is only 26% funded, despite a 20% reduction in appeal this year. This is unsustainable and places immense pressure on humanitarian actors who are forced to prioritize their response. The lack of funding also means that efforts are mainly concentrated on emergency assistance at the cost of investment in early recovery projects. The A3 Plus call on donors to honor their commitment and ensure adequate funding for the humanitarian response plan and for recovery project in Syria. Failure to do so will have a lasting intergenerational impact, while children around the world are returning to school this month. Millions of children remain out of school in Syria, and 1.6 million more are at risk to leave the education system permanently. And even more, when 1 in 3 schools are not actually being used for education. What future can Syria have when her children grow up in refugee and IDP camps, malnourished and impoverished? What future can these children possibly have? And what can the international community say to them? Education must be our priority. The A3 Plus advocates for a comprehensive early recovery strategy to improve Syrians' livelihoods and facilitate the safe, dignified, and voluntary return of displaced Syrians to their home. We believe that early recovery projects and economic growth are also vital for the Syrian people, who cannot rely solely on the generosity of donors. It is also imperative to help Syria's economic recovery, including by lifting unilateral sanctions. To conclude, Mr. President, the international community bears a responsibility to create a conducive environment for resolving the Syrian crisis. We must rise to this responsibility. We must not let the Syrian people down. They are pinning their hopes on us. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for their statement.